Hey everyone, I hope you guys are doing good. I have some updates for my app, Trashify. First of all, we have migrated over to React.js and Node.js, so we're no longer using Next.js. And additionally, I have decided to use AWS S3 to host our images because S3 is very good for static images. Sorry, I should say static files like images. Static just means that they do not change, and image file is never going to change. As soon as you upload it, it's expected to remain the same, right? So using S3 is really good for this because it allows me to scale very nice. It gives me some very advanced features such as transfer acceleration, which will help for long distance S3 uploads, right? And there's just a lot of customizability. All right. Additionally, I did not use the AWS SDK 2. I used instead 3 because the SDK v2 is going to go out of service in September of 2025. That's a year from now, basically. So I do not want to, use that. I want to use the one that will be supported more long term. All right, as you can see, this was just me testing it out a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and try this out ourselves through this Postman that I have installed within my IDE. If you want to install Postman within your IDE too, specifically VS Code, you just have to go to extensions, type in Postman, and then this first one from postman.com is the one you want to install, and it'll automatically set everything up so that it'll be on the sidebar. You just press on Postman, new HTTP request, and you're good to go. All right. That's after you log in, of course. Anyways, over here you can see that I actually did create a post over here over here, right? But I can go ahead and create another post. I'm gonna call it my second post. All right. And before I go ahead and um, add this to my database, I want to show you guys how I do the photo uploading. All right. So it works, as I said, through the AWS SDK of v3. So that in that case, you have to actually specify the specific service. You can't just use it like this. Just that wouldn't work, right? You have to actually specify a specific service within AWS SDK and use it like that, right? Um, So I just use the S3 client and then put object command, right? These are needed to go ahead and upload, right? And I'm just going ahead and sending it. And as soon as the file has been uploaded, we go like we use a dot then, so it's a promise, right? So after it's created, what we're going to do is we're going to run this function, and in this function we're just simply going to create the Prisma database a document, and then within photo we're just going to manually construct the URL using some of the credentials, right? Because the AWS URL is going to be basically the same except for the specific information that's going to be different, right? um, so yeah, and then I also have a console timing because I just want to see my API runtimes. And so yeah, let's actually try this out now. All right, so if I go into um, my Postman, I just have to go to /post/create. I go ahead and add in my information, and all I do is press send. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. So within photos, though, by the way, it's going to be a base 64 URL. All right. So that's going to be already configured using the reader file class. And then I'm going to create an object based on that class within the front end, right? I already made the front end enabled for everything, and I use React context for the front end as well because there's multiple components. So I'm going to have like a global state. But anyways, essentially all you need to know is that you have to add a base 64 URL within the photo attribute for AWS S3 to accept it, right? Because in my content encoding, you can see that I added it as base 64. Anyways, let's go ahead and click send over here and let's make this request. Additionally, you have to make sure you're signed in too, of course. So you need to make sure you have session ID, right? That's the session through the cookie, right? Because again, the cookie that's saved in your local machine is going to be the session ID, and then using the session ID, the API can reference it, cross-reference it with your database. In my case, a Redis. All right. So, anyways, let's go ahead and send this. there we go. So we went ahead and sent it. And if I go ahead and just go into my Postico, which is just like a interface to access Postgres servers, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this, and you can see that my new second post is up and ready to use within the database. Here are my response times. You can see they're very, very fast. The reason why it's super fast, like sub millisecond within S3 upload, is because this photo is very, very low in in size, right? Because it's not even a real photo actually, right? It just has the encoding in the same format of a base 64. But yeah, so that's why it's really fast. But the S3 upload would be dependent on your file size. If it's a very, very big size, of course it's going to take more longer to process it. But the most it'll take is maybe 150 milliseconds, pushing 200 milliseconds. And then Prisma Create is very, very fast all the time. It's always below um, 20 milliseconds, 30 milliseconds. But here you can see that I was able to get it within 11 milliseconds. But in a real world case scenario where you actually have a real photo, right? It's probably going to be around 50 to 100 milliseconds. All right, which is still excellent, right? It's still pretty good. Um, but yeah, there's definitely ways to optimize it, like using the S3 transfer acceleration so that you get more faster speeds, but then it's obviously going to be more costly as well. All right. But anyways, that's just a little bit of a demo of what I did today. All right.